High Level is a full CRM and marketing platform, and I've used some of the best in the SaaS industry. And we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. We got a problem with X. I don't know what the error is. I'm going to have to keep retrying. But we're on Instagram and hopefully more. But this is Reveting's Wednesday. Welcome to Wednesday, everyone. We've got hot topics and some hot prizes I can't wait to get into for tonight. But before we do, who's here in the comments? Let us know you're here. I'm seeing 0 on YouTube, so we've got to pick up the speed here. Let's go, everyone. Where's the Wednesday winners at tonight? We hope you all join. And if you're coming in here on LinkedIn, we can't see that here in StreamYard. So let us know by leaving a comment. And if you're on any of the other channels, also let us know by leaving a comment. Let us know, where are you tuning in from today? What channel you on? We'll be able to see that when you comment. But we can put it right up on the screen when you comment. So engage in this conversation. This conversation is for you. So your questions and comments can drive it. But before we bring in our amazing guests, I'm going to introduce you to Cherry Assistant. Cherry Assistant can help you delegate. They're a VA placement company. So I've been working with Cherry Assistant, and they've been helping me find VAs around the world who have the skills that I'm seeking here at Reveting. So, we have skills here like video editing and marketing and production. So, you might have something else, like maybe you're looking for a bookkeeper or something completely different. Well, I guarantee you there's someone in the world with that skill set and likely in your budget. So just go over to cherryassistant.com, or we should have that QR code up on the screen. Yes, I see it now. You can see our QR code here. If you scan that, that'll take you to cherryassistant.com. If you're listening on podcast, just go to cherryassistant.com and let them know that you heard about them through Wednesday for $250 off your first month. Also, want to briefly mention High Level. Have you tried High Level? Okay, so you've probably tried all these other like big SaaS players out there. I digress. I'm not going to mention the competition. But I was a marketer. I was a CMO. So I've used the really expensive SaaS tools, and they're amazing. But these days, you don't have to spend all that money on the B2B SaaS. You can just get things that are built around AI. They're a little more nimble. They're startups, and then they don't require like certain engineers to do things. So High Level has enabled me to not only have a CRM and marketing automation platform for my company, but also for my clients. It's an agency tool. So I've white labeled it to app.reveting.com. I have my own account, and then our clients do too, which is great because we do marketing for them. So we're able to say, here are your leads right here in your CRM. So check out High Level if you're looking for something. You can use that QR code right here on the screen, or just go to reveting.com/high level and try out High Level on a 30-day free trial. And you can get an extended 30-day free trial only on my free trial link or another affiliate's free trial link. But yeah, So try that out. But we have so much more fun stuff to get into. We've got some great topics. But before we get into ads, AI, all this other amazing stuff that we're getting into, performance, creative strategies, I want to introduce you to our guests who are going to be leading the way. Welcome to the show, Mohamed and Matt. Really appreciate you both being here.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you both for being here. So, as we talked about pre-show, we would love to get an introduction of yourself by yourself in good old-fashioned Wednesday style. We want to know your full life story from birth to what brought you to now in 2 minutes, no pressure. We can find your resume on LinkedIn. So ideally we hear the stuff that like makes you really human. So what do you think, Matt? Can you kick us off?
I can. I don't have my birth certificate on LinkedIn yet, but you might be able to track that down too. So I'm Matt Slaymaker. I'm from Dallas, Texas, born and raised here, specifically in a suburb called Plano. I went to college in Colorado where I studied marketing, tried dabbling in other areas of business, but marketing was the one I fell in love with. It was the one area that I felt like I could be both creative and analytical. So I started working at a full service digital advertising agency where I was thrown into the fire and did a little bit of everything. I spent most of my days doing Google ads, but did Facebook ads all the time, SEO, website design, pretty much everything that's related to marketing I was in charge of. So then for the next 5 years, I drilled in further into Google ads. I went to a different agency where I just focused all my time there. After bouncing around at a couple of different agencies, I started to notice some things that I wanted to do differently. One, just the transparency that comes with agency client relationships and being honest about everything at every stage, as opposed to saying what we think is going to keep a client around. That will always kind of rub me the wrong way, not just on an everyday client relationship, but even in the sales process, where I would see at agencies I worked at, people lead their best specialist and hook people in to make clients think that they're going to be working with that guy, only to pawn them off to somebody who is fresh out of college, right? So I started my agency to do things a little bit differently, to focus more on senior-led talent, to focus entirely on transparency. So we're a full-service digital advertising agency. We do Google ads, Facebook, landing pages, creative, full stack. So we work with brands across e-commerce, SaaS, local brands, from very small brands who are only spending a couple $100s a day to brands who are spending $20,000, $30,000 on their ads per day. So yeah, really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for sharing. That sounds like quite the journey. And it's always great to have another marketer on the show. So welcome on, Matt.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, Mohamed, tell us a little bit more about you and your full life story from birth to what brought you to now.
Oh, so it's been all over. So I grew up actually out west in Canada, and it was back then a small town. Now it's a much bigger city in Calgary, Alberta. I grew up there, went up to high school. My family moved to the Ontario region. I went to college here. After finishing college, I worked for Air Canada here. Then I started traveling. So once you start working for an airline, you end up moving around. So I went to another airline in the Middle East. It was one of the up and coming airlines at that time, Etihad. Then I worked as a startup in Saudi Arabia. Then I moved back to Montreal in scheduling and forecasting, but I switched industries. I went into the filming industry, more for VFX artists. Then I worked remote in different parts of the world, and I did consultancy in Morocco. So it's a bit crazy. So I've been all around the world. What got me into what I do today, I was always in forecasting, scheduling, whether it was from day-to-day scheduling to the planning of monthly schedules to the forecasting of staff. And I always saw that there was a lot of things that could be, I guess, when I worked in an airline, for example, there was 7,000 cabin crew, and there would only be 3 or 4 planners. So it was just a rigid schedule. You let them know when their vacation days are in the year, and they can't really get any requests, because how can 7,000 people ask, hey, can I get this Tuesday off, or can I swap this? So it was very rigid. And I always thought there was a way to do it better. And they always say, oh, no, they're here to work. They're making money. That's the only benefit. But after COVID, I've noticed something changed a little bit around the world, where people start focusing more on their mental health, their well-being. And then I started saying, okay, you know what? We should be able, with AI, we should be able to, doesn't matter how much people you have, you should be able to, accept a lot of these swaps and such. So I created something similar to that. So it's a scheduling tool for shift-based employees, whether it's hospitals, retail, construction, but it has an AI schedule that works in the back end that is 24/7 and allows everyone to get what they want when they can. So that's a little bit about me there.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. That's a really incredible story. So you have a lot of experience. So remind me of the first industry you said you started in.
So the first, it was airlines. So it was
Airlines. That's right.
Yeah. It was Air Canada, Etihad, then another one called Fly Ideal, low cost, and then I went into the filming industry in Canada.
Those are so opposite.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just very different.
That's why I actually decided to do the software, because I was scared to get into that role. But then I realized in every industry, it's to forecast staffing needs. It's always, the supply and the demand. And you just have to find out that performance metrics, how to look at that demand metrics with their performance. And it's almost the same in every industry. You just have to rework the inputs. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I honestly find the same kind of thing happen in marketing, where a lot of people ask me, like, I'll have a new lead come our way and they're like, oh, do you have experience in this particular industry? I'm like, well, not that particular one, but what I can tell you is marketing principles of like what works and what doesn't is very applicable to every single industry. Right? So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's get right into our first marketing topic. What do you think?
Yeah, that's it.
It's all about Google Ads, scaling ROI with Google Ads Mastery. Can you kick us off, Matt?
Yeah, for sure. I'll lay the groundwork and then feel free to sprinkle any questions or thoughts that you guys have. So one of the reasons I like Google Ads so much and why I decided to spend so much time drilling into Google Ads is because I still, even now, feel like it's one of those unique platforms that can help pretty much any type of business. The service offering that you get with Google Ads compared to things like Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, you have a true full funnel experience with Google Ads. So starting at the bottom of funnel, things like search ads and shopping ads, where you're getting in front of people that are actively searching for things at a very high intent, whether that's people who are already searching for your brand name and you're trying to knock down competitors so that you can protect your brand, or going after the more incremental and competitive non-branded searches. So if you are a barbecue brand and you want to get in front of people who are searching for barbecue sauces, Google Ads is a great place to do that. But what you can also, a lot of people stop there when it comes to Google Ads. They think of it really just as search and shopping. And at some of the agencies I worked at in the past, they would refer to Google Ads as paid search, but it's like, it's so much more than that. What you can also do with Google Ads is obviously YouTube. So YouTube retargeting campaigns where you're getting back in front of people who visited your website or expressed a certain level of intent by visiting multiple pages or spent 2 minutes or more on the website, but didn't actually purchase. Super efficient to get back in front of those people with YouTube ads. Display ads, you can do the same type of thing where it's a static ad, but you're getting back in front of those people. But YouTube and display is also really effective for growing your business and reaching new people. So setting up some audiences where you could target people who've been searching for certain things on Google, visiting certain types of websites, certain demographic details about them, if they're in certain income ranges or ages, that kind of stuff. So I just feel like the power that you have to really have a full funnel strategy in Google Ads is unmatched compared to any other platform that's out there. So that's kind of the foundation. And then from there, we can definitely drill into particular topics.
Absolutely.
I have one question, because I'll just give it to you from my example, right? I'm looking to, start using ads, having some explainer videos. But in my case, for example, when I try to target some industries or some managers, I'm trying to educate them on using a system that will bring up hidden costs that they were not aware of, right? I always thought, like, for example, when it comes to ads, if it's someone searching for it, like going online, say on Google Ads, I'm looking for a scheduling software. It's something, but the one thing why I haven't like put this as my top focus was thinking like something like, let's say a warehouse with 50 or 60 or 70 staff, right? They already have an Excel, they already have all of these things. So they already I'm probably not looking for a scheduling software, but how would you say, like, if I'm trying to educate people without just having like, that's the thing, like, how will it go to these guys?
Yeah, because to your point, they might not be searching for what you want them to search for on Google. So, and if they are, the search level and the search intent might be very small. And then on the flip side, for the people that are searching for that kind of stuff, the competition might be really high. So like for a lot of the B2B brands that we work with, we're very used to seeing search CPCs be somewhere around like $30 per click for certain keywords. And for a lot of them, they're fine with that. It's still worthwhile for them. But for a lot of others, that's not the most effective or incremental way that they can get in front of their audience than other strategies. So what I would probably recommend for you guys personally is getting a list of people that you feel is representative of, we are confident that these are the right people. So whether that's initially people from LinkedIn or an ABM tool, that's usually a great way to build that initial audience. And then using Google to get back in front of those people with more targeted, tailored messages. So using YouTube for that, using display for that. As much as I love Google, one weakness that it does have is job title targeting. So getting in front of people that you want based on their position or the company that they work at. Google isn't as good at that as even Bing. Bing actually has better data because they have an integration with LinkedIn. So I would use some of those channels to initially pour in and do some of your top of funnel targeting, and then use Google to get back in front of those people more efficiently.
Okay, perfect.
That makes sense. And Bing, you mentioned Bing for B2B. I remember being a B2B like marketing manager. We were doing regular SEO projects, and then Bing was huge. And then especially for ads, actually, I ended up being really surprised how successful we were with Bing as opposed to Google ads for B2B.
Yeah. And obviously, like one thing that Bing has going for it is that there's less advertisers over there. So the competition is significantly lower. So for most of our brands that are doing Google, they're also active on Bing. We run both of their ads there. And Bing is usually 5 times less expensive. Now you do see lower conversion rates because Bing, their algorithm just definitely isn't as good as Google's. So your conversion rates might be lower, but that's where you obviously just have to try to find that balance and see which platform is going to work best for you. The issues and the things that you need to be paying attention to on a day-to-day basis, if you're a B2B brand, are very different than if you're a B2C e-commerce brand. So in the B2B space, there's really like 2 main things that you're trying to solve for with Google Ads, LinkedIn, et cetera. One is lead quantity. We just need something coming in. And the other is lead quality. A lot of people will, and we see this all the time with Google Ads, different accounts that we've audited and stuff like that. It'll look really great on the surface where campaigns are saying we've gotten so many conversions, we've gotten so many leads. But then when you dig into HubSpot or Salesforce, you see it's like, oh, this is like 90% junk. And there's definitely some strategies of ways that you can try to get rid of a lot of that stuff. There's certain campaign types that for B2B just is not going to work. So like Performance Max, while it might work really well for e-commerce, that's something we just definitely don't recommend for B2B brands. Broad match keywords, it can work if you have a lot of really good high quality data coming in, but if you don't, it's going to pull in a bunch of junk for you, right? So those are the 2 big things that you're trying to solve for in the B2B space. Whereas on the e-commerce space, you're really just trying to get profitable sales. In the end, a sale is a sale. And while there are definitely some people who are going to be better customers for us in terms of having better lifetime value and things like that, purchase data informs Google very, very well. So if Google is seeing like 20, 30 purchases come through per day from your campaigns, it's going to get better and better at finding out who your customers are. Same principle applies to Facebook, LinkedIn. So the hardest part for a lot of brands is just getting started and getting that initial data and then figuring out what do you do next. So now that I've collected that data and I've learned something, how do I accelerate my winners? How do I kill the losers and continue to test and improve a little bit every single month, right?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. So Sarah was asking in the chat, does Bing integrate with Office 365, meaning that it does use anonymized data? Any clue
That's
there?
a good question. I don't know, actually. I'm not sure if it does.
I don't either.
Yeah, and and maybe she can reply in the chat as well, but if you had any clarification on like what kind of anonymized data are you referring to? Are you referring to like all of the clicks or the people who fill out forms? Like, is that anonymized? Might be able to answer something there, but I'm not sure about the Office 365 piece.
Yeah, well, She says that's great to know. We might be off there. I think that might be in response to something you were saying earlier. There's sometimes a little bit of a lag from what we're saying to what they hear on LinkedIn, can be like, I don't know, 30 seconds off or so. But anyway, this is a really great topic. Anything else you'd like to add on it before we move on to our next topic?
I could go on forever. Something will probably come up, so I'll definitely let you know if something good comes up. But otherwise, we can pass it over to Mohamed.
Well, let's get into our second topic, which I believe is all about AI. And I mean, that's who here in the comment hasn't used AI? I mean, I think that's everyone, or no, who in the comment has used AI, or no, like there's no one here who hasn't. So no one would be commenting. I want a lot of comments.
Yeah,
so I'm trying to say, yeah, we know Sarah's here in the comments. I can see there's a few others here on LinkedIn. And we've got people on Instagram. Unfortunately, the Instagram comments do not come through to StreamYard. Womp womp. But yeah, Franklin on Instagram, good to see you as well. And all the others. But Sarah did come back and she added some more. She said, you said it Bing used data from LinkedIn. So I was curious about Office 365.
Got it. Yeah, I'm not sure about that connection. But if you go into Bing, you'll see basically all the same job title targeting options, all the same company targeting that is available with LinkedIn. So that's one thing that gives it a big edge over Google for top of funnel. But another thing that you can do with these job titles is you can layer it over your search campaigns that you're doing in Bing and restrict your search ads to only show to people with those job titles. So when I was talking earlier about lead quality being such an important thing and how we don't just want leads and form submissions from any and everybody, we want it from the right people, someone who could actually become a customer. That's where trying to restrict your reach becomes even more important, right? We're not just trying to get as many clicks as possible and burn through your budget. We want to spend it efficiently and get in front of the right people.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. We always want a better return on our ad spend. But anyway, I'm seeing another comment pop up. She says, got it. Thank you. So Sarah, next we're talking about AI. You might like this topic, AI enhanced leadership for modern management. Can you kick us off on this one, Mohamed?
Yes. So when it comes to AI enhanced leadership today, what I say is a lot of it should be focused towards predictive insights, right? So you have a lot of companies now are just trying to bring in AI for the sake of bringing AI. Oh, let's bring in these workflows. At the end of the day, like what's the pain point that you're fixing, and what insights will you have to make better decisions in the future? I'll give you an example for both shift-based, and I'll give you something for some like Office 9 to 5. So we work closely with shift-based companies, right? A lot of the data-driven insights they get now is before, when I was a manpower planner, if you wanted to forecast demand, we'd have 5 or 6 different Excels. We'd look at historical data. What was the sickness like in the past? What was the attrition, resignation rate? What was, days where we had issues? So you get all that data in, and then you look at the forecast. So what are we aligning with? Commercial schedules, sales, and such. You just put it all into one Excel or one dashboard, and then you'll get that template for that request, right? What you're looking for. What now leadership, I know AI is so easy to integrate with other systems, right? So instead of looking at it in a way where you're like, oh, let's just keep it, once we need it, you get it in real time. So some leaders now are looking at, let's plug in our, HR tool. So when someone's called sick, we see that trend into our forecasting tool. It looks at things that people haven't even thought of in the past, where you can plug in 20 different data sets. Like for a hospital, like a hotel, you might want seasonality trends. You might want to know when our conferences are in town. You want to know when when there's a Taylor Swift concert coming. All the hotels we booked, there's going to be a lot more demand for the cleaners, for the front end staff. So what you do is you get all of those data points, and now you can foresee the future. And because you have historical data, you can actually see things before they happen instead of being reactive. And another thing also is, if you look at office jobs, before we've always had fixed benefits, right? You have this many sick days in a year, this many vacation days, and that's it. Now things are becoming more holistic well-being. So your AI tool that the leadership can implement for you, they can look at your schedule or your calendar, and they can say, oh, you know what? The AI tool might recommend you've had a long week of meetings, have a meeting-free day, for example. or you know what, it can prevent burnout. Like it can say, oh, you've been working a lot of projects, a lot of tasks on your to-do list. Let's look at ways to prevent burnout by, recommending you take a vacation day on this day. So when you use these as a co-pilot, instead of looking at, oh, let's get workflows to replace people, or you get a lot more from your team and a lot more productivity. In shift-based systems, once we introduced AI in some of our last year's pilot programs, without people getting let go, some companies saw about 15, some companies saw 20% decrease in labor costs. And what it was, the productivity. So you had people before, you had, let's say, a department store with 150 people. You might say 75 in the morning, 75 in the evening, and that's it. The AI tool will come and say, you know what, you got sales peaks here, you got sales peaks here. Some days you don't need as much, some days you need more. So you're not really getting rid of people, but you're just reallocating those shift schedules. So an AI enhanced leadership team will go and look, okay, let's use this insight, and now let's empower our teams, to work at the best times they can. There's a lot of other things that AI is also bringing out. Like, for example, like I mentioned earlier, empathy, data-driven decisions. So if you look at, when someone wants to swap their shift tomorrow, or they want to offer their shift tomorrow, if you're a nurse in a hospital, what's going to happen? It's at 10 o'clock at night and you want to stay out a little longer with your friends. Today, they're probably going to say, oh, you know what, I'm going to have to call sick. I can't make it to work. Unfortunately, it's not what should happen, but it happens, right? So for what the company loses out is they pay someone overtime and they remove dock someone a sick day. But if you give some people the freedom to ask as many times to an AI, assistant, hey, can you offer my shift tomorrow, and see who can take it? It's like pinging like an Uber request to, the drivers, someone to pick up. Someone might be at home and he'll be like, oh, you know what, I can take it. So there are a lot of positive enhancements. And the thing is, a lot of leadership, they should not think, oh, I don't need it, things are working, but it can help you save a lot more money in things that you did not know you were spending on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, those are really cool applications of AI, things that I never really considered. Things like measuring burnout and creating plans around that. It's AI is going to be able to measure that kind of stuff. Through just looking at your schedule better than a person can, and better than sometimes we can ourselves. It's like, oh, I can handle this. And it's like, no, what you're doing is not normal.
Exactly. And even for, I know here in Canada, we have a really big healthcare crisis where we don't have enough nurses or doctors. There's a lot of issues, right? But a lot of them are burning out. And I mentioned this before, some friends, 40% of nurses, by the time they hit the age of 35, they change careers in Canada. That's because of burnout and work-life balance, right? What a lot of company hospitals should do is, when they have these shifts, right, you should have a fatigue scorecard and just a happiness scorecard at the end of every shift connected to their schedule. They just have to rate it, because what happens is, when the next schedule is being built, it'll see a trend like this. Let's say this graveyard shift from 12 to 6 a.m. 90% of the people, don't like it. So instead of giving it to someone 2 nights in a row, 4 nights in a row, you take the total shifts divided by everyone and just split it fairly. So now okay, you know what, this is going to reduce, burnout, reduce, increase flexibility. So there are a lot of data, and that's the best thing about AI. It's the data and the insights that you get that can actually make you go above and beyond the competitors. And in today's world, you have to stay ahead with using the latest AI tools out there.
One thing I've been doing with my team recently, and I stole this from my business coach who made me do it for the first time, was putting together a productivity matrix of the things that you love to do and you're awesome at, the things that you love to do but you're not very good at, the things you do not like to do, but you're also good at them, and the things that you hate doing and you also stink at. And going through that list and figuring out which of these would be things that I could delegate to somebody else who might enjoy it more than me, or which of these are things that AI could either do completely for me or make my life easier for this. So if I'm spending a lot of time, for example, like we did this with our creative manager who's in charge of getting graphic designs done at our agency. And we looked at what are the things that you don't like doing very much, but you're spending a lot of time on. And it's like going through the videos and correcting captions. And it's like, okay, let's figure out how we could automate something like that and have AI do the scanning of the captions, right? And have you spend more of your time doing the stuff that gives you joy, right? And so that's the kind of stuff that will help to reduce burnout, to your point.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what we know. That's the thing that's going to help a lot is like take the tedious tasks away, the ones that we don't really like to do, the very repetitive stuff. And even if they say, oh, yeah, you're not doing as much work, but you just having that free time to think creatively, to, start thinking strategically rather than, day-to-day firefighting. Even if you have a day where your tasks are shaved in half, you have an extra half a day to start thinking on what's next, And I think that's what's going to happen. It's like we're going to start going back to that, the creative side of things, and the ones who just have more time in the day to start thinking, okay, what's the next thing to do? How can we improve sales? And then leaving the stuff, like I said, the stuff that you don't like to do for the AI tools to repeat. That's what's going to be the positive future.
Absolutely. And we're getting some more comments from Sarah again. She was pointing out, thank you for taking human problems, aka burnout, and figure out how AI can prevent and alleviate it. Absolutely, I agree. I love listening to this type of stuff because if AI can help us as humans with our personal, then it's gonna help everything. And then she's asking, have you heard of 6 Types of Working Genius with Patrick Lencioni? I have not heard of that. Have either of you?
I have.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah,
Sarah, tell us what you think too. Sorry, go ahead.
We did this at a previous agency that I was at that was really great about company culture. They prioritize that a lot. And we would take all these different tests and surveys. So one of them being DISC, which you guys may have heard about, but one of them was Working Genius. And I forget what all the 6 types of Working Genius are, but basically it figures out like, how do you communicate? How do you think about things? How do you problem solve? And it kind of shows you what are your working strengths. And in this sense, it calls it Working Genius. So are you a wanderer, or are you more of an implementer? Are you someone who galvanizes people? And when you take that test, it's very eye-opening in a lot of ways, but it's also at the same time, you'll agree with the results. You're going to be like, oh, this is very much me. And what it's useful for is being able to understand, like, how does my team's brain work, and how should I communicate with someone in a way that resonates with them and inspires them and helps them be productive and enjoy work, and vice versa. What are the things I should be spending my time on based on what my strengths are? So one of my Working Geniuses I remember was W, which I believe was Wanderer. And so what's a good use of my time as a result is to spend time thinking about how I can solve problems. So what are the problems that my agency is experiencing, or problems that my clients are facing, and what are some potential solutions around that? And my strengths are less around like organization and the actual day-to-day implementation, but there are other people on the team who are really, really good at that, who don't have the Wanderer Working Genius, right? And so that's where you can take all these different Working Geniuses and put them together as a really good team, right? So yeah, Sarah just dropped in what the rest of those were. So I remember Wonder, I was high in, galvanizing, I was low in, which makes sense. I played football and basketball, and even though I was like a team captain one year, I could never give like a rally speech at all. I was just like, all right, guys, we got this. But you would have some guy in the locker room give like this super inspiring speech. I'm like, I would have no idea how to do that.
Nice. Well, thank you for bringing that book up, Sarah, and for telling us about it, Matt. That's incredible.
Sure. Yeah, great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have you heard of it at all, Mohamed?
Not these ones, no, but I've worked on a lot of things where you kind of like learn about what kind of like working habits you're better at. Like I'm similar as well. I'm more I think more from the creative side. Although I work a lot with data, but I always try to find a shortcut. That's why AI was meant for me, because like even when I was working with Map Power Forecast Plan, I always tried to find a shortcut, because I'd be like, okay, they give us something and I'm like, okay, you have to connect these two. What are the formulas? And I'd go on Google. So I always try to find a shortcut. But the best part with me is that creative mindset. Like, how can we do this with this? And then telling a story. But the whole thing, like actually getting in there and just sitting and then moving this data to this, it used to bore me until a lot of these AI tools came out. So yeah, I'm more of the creative thinking. And I always that's why people say, like, I have, if I have like even an 8-hour day, if I just sit still and I think sometimes, or I just go for a walk for like an hour, I actually probably thought of something that I can work on for the next 2 weeks nonstop. So that's why it's good to have those little breaks.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree.
Yeah.
100%. Well, I guess we have spent a lot of time on this AI topic and some great stuff came up. But we've got two more really great hot topics we're going to get to right after this very brief message from Cherry Assistant.
This is Mike, also known as Clean with Mike on Twitter. Mike hired a virtual assistant from Cherry Assistant about 2 years ago. Now he has a $50K per month business fully managed by a remote operator in South Africa. His VA from South Africa does the following: closing inbound leads on the phone, Yelp and Google and Facebook, manages his CRM on Go High Level, deals with rescheduling, cancellations, any issues, hires and manages the cleaners, and sends them daily reports and updates. Mike has a fully cash flowing business managed by a remote operator for only $8 an hour. You can also hire a US equivalent worker in the Philippines, South Africa, Latin America for a fraction of the cost with Cherry Assistant. Be like Mike and grow your business with offshore staff.
And if you're listening to this on podcast, we're showing a menu of services they offer, including but not limited to lead generation, CRM management, prospecting assistance, sales presentation preparation, data entry and cleanup, customer support, and project management assistance. So check out Cherry Assistant. And if you do, remember to let them know that you heard about them through Wednesday. And we've got one more brief ad, but this one is coming to you from us here at Reveting. At Reveting, we help B2B founders, executives, brands turn their live streaming into a real revenue channel. One live stream turns into a podcast, it turns into a social clip, it turns into email content like a newsletter, and actual sales conversations. You get to have a lot of conversations with people when you have a podcast or a live stream like this. And if you want to be known, trusted, and remembered in your industry without being online 24/7, worrying about your posting, this is what we do. Just head on over to reveting.com and let's build your show.
I want to give a quick testimonial for the Reveting team and Jesse for some of the things that they've helped me do in my business and developing an online presence. So first of all, I was really nervous about doing lives. Everybody kept telling me, you got to do lives, you got to do lives. And I just couldn't get myself to do it. And so thanks to Jessie and her team, I've now been doing them for, I think, 7 or 8 months now. And I've gotten so much more comfortable and confident in doing them. The other thing is they very much have helped me increase my reach and online presence, especially on LinkedIn, but also on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. That was something that was kind of a surprise to me. So they also do some posts for me. And some of those posts have gotten the most attention compared to what I was doing before. And I've learned a lot from them. So thank you, Reveting and Jesse.
Jesse, I love what you and the team do. You make it so easy for me to get in, have a meaningful conversation with some amazing guests, and then watch the post-production that you and the team deliver that, helps me extend my reach. And as I said, I've been picking up 50 followers a day on LinkedIn as a byproduct of this, just because that content is resonating so well. And I've had a number of people reach out to me who want to be guests on the show. So it's working across a lot of different channels for me. And I can't thank you enough.
Amazing. Thank you to Alana and Bill for those testimonials and for the Reveting team for putting together that ad video. We'll try to shorten it up because we'll be playing it throughout 2026. But we do have a couple others who've said they'll do testimonials, so we're going to be adding to it. But I digress. We've got to get into this third topic. It's really good. So let's talk about mastering meta, high performance creative strategies. Matt, can you kick us off?
For sure. So obviously what makes a good creative depends on your business. But what I'm going to say is that when people say that meta, like creative is 50, 60, 70% of the equation in success in meta, they're right. It is. Creative more and more has become really the thing that you need to spend almost all of your time on when it comes to meta. We've moved to an age where broad targeting and Advantage Plus targeting has gotten really, really good on meta. So doing lookalike audiences or interest-based audiences can still work, definitely. And we still test it out with all of our e-commerce clients in particular. But more often than not, we find that Advantage Plus and broad audiences do best. So what do we find actually move the needle? It's taking big swings with creative. So some of you may have heard, but over the last year, Meta made some updates to its algorithm. It was called Andromeda. So this Andromeda update. And in short, one of the big things that came out of Andromeda was kind of not penalizing, but not rewarding you so much for making small tweaks to your creative. Instead, Meta wants you to take more big swings. So trying completely different formats, saying completely different things. And when it comes to what's important and what actually works for a Meta ad, the most important thing is the message and the clarity of the offer. So whether it's your product or a service that you're offering on Meta, it needs to be very clear just from the image or video itself what you're talking about and what the relevance is to that particular user. From there, Meta is going to handle the rest. Meta is going to be able to, once it gets those initial signals of who's clicking on this ad, who's commenting, who's liking it, who's ultimately clicking and then buying from this ad, Meta's going to be able to figure out who should we serve this ad to. So that's why it likes having a great deal of creative diversity, because what works for one person might not work well for another. So it likes to be able to see, hey, I've got an option, a menu of things to choose from, and I'm going to serve this ad to the user that it's going to most resonate with, and this one to this one. So there's all sorts of different types of ads you could do. So speaking for e-commerce specifically, you could do a explainer style ad where it's 30 seconds, 40 seconds or so, just kind of talking about your brand at a high level. You could do a UGC testimonial video where it's just a customer talking about the product and how much they liked it. You could do a UGC mashup where you piece several testimonials together. That's something that we love and what we see a lot of success with. But the most important thing is that you're hooking someone's attention right then and there, because as we all know, just from our own Meta and Instagram experience, people are scrolling through this kind of stuff quick. So whether it's the image that hooks them, or if you're using a video, those first 2 to 3 seconds are what they call the hook rate, the hook point. On YouTube, you get 5 seconds to hook somebody. But then from there, it's keeping it really well paced so that you keep them watching the rest of the video, and then have a strong call to action and offer to actually bring it home. Now, that's all about the creative itself. In the end, you could have all the best creative in the world, all the best landing pages in the world, but if you are sending them to a product that doesn't have good value, people are smart, and especially when the economy is a little bit tighter, people's wallets are a little bit tighter, they're not going to just buy everything that they see on Meta and Instagram. So what I would suggest starting with, before you run any ads on Meta, figure out what your offer is, what are your unique selling points, and make sure all of that is clear on your website. And then before you get ready to launch any campaigns, develop creative that passes that blink test, where just from looking at it for 2-3 seconds, you can immediately tell who this is for, why this matters for me, and what the value is. And if you have a strong offer, that value will be super apparent. So one of the brands that saw a lot of success with us on Meta and YouTube when we were running ads for them was this car tool that you plug into your car. It's only $20 and it saves you thousands of dollars by telling you what's wrong with your car, right? So the value there is very apparent. And so we just have to have an ad that gets their attention and gets them to the point where they're listening, right? You can have a really, really great ad, but if you don't have a good deal or the value just isn't apparent, it still likely won't work well. So definitely can talk more about specific creative tactics, but specifically those things that you need to think about are clarity, the blink test, having a good hook, and having a good offer. Those are the most important things for creative on Meta.
So there's one interesting thing, right? And it's so true, because when I go sometimes on Instagram, I'm not interested in buying anything, right? And then I'll see something that's B2B, and it's something that I said, this is really interesting. And I realized one thing, it's when I'm interested, and I actually got one company to do some services for me, it depends also on, for me, like what's the next steps, right? Because I remember once I saw something and then it was like, fill this out, tell me more about why you want this. And by the time I got to it, I was like, I was not looking for it. And then I was like, it already bored me and I just exited. And another one I did once, and I wasn't planning to get this. It was like some explainer video for like SaaS companies, right? I wasn't planning on it, and I clicked on it, next, and then it just had like a quick video of how it looked, and then just put your name, last name, and book a meeting slot. And I did it, and then it was just so quick, and like I wasn't planning on getting something, but it's because it was so organized and so quick. It just caught my attention there.
Sure. And I mean, that's, it's barriers to entry, right? The more barriers that you put up, the harder that you make it to get someone's information, the less that you're going to get. But a lot of times brands do that on purpose. So like that brand that you mentioned where they had all these different things that you filled out, that might've been because last time they ran ads, they got a bunch of spam and they got a bunch of junk leads from people who were just easily filling out forms, right? And so when they added in some of those gateways, to really try to exclude anybody who's not truly interested in this, they probably started seeing higher quality leads come through, right? So it depends on your business and who you're trying to attract. In B2B, I think it actually makes sense to have some gateways there and prevent low quality spam from coming through. Because frankly, if Meta sees that a lead came through and Google's the same way, it's going to think, I'm killing it. I'm doing a great job. I'm going to keep finding more people like that. So unless you're feeding it like those signals of this is truly who I want to go after, the problem's only going to get worse in terms of more spam coming through, right? So for them, they're trying to make sure that anyone who fills out a form is actually someone who we would want to potentially contact. And that's the data that they send back to Meta. So, but in the e-commerce space, like I said earlier on the podcast, a purchase is a purchase. Some people will buy and refund and, that kind of stuff happens. But in the end, the quality of purchasers is a lot more similar than the quality of someone who fills out a form, right? Where you have a bunch of spam, a bunch of, somewhat qualified, somewhat relevant leads, and then like 5% where it's like, this is a really great lead that we actually want to contact.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Because like even with me, I'm thinking when I have someone who comes through my website, because I'm not running ads, when someone goes through my websites and fills out a form, it's almost certain like they're really, really interested. So at that point, if I just had 1,000 people, filling out that form and only a certain percent were interested, it would actually be a little bit annoying, but
right. Yeah, I get that for sure. Yeah. And when you turn on ads is where it can really bring in the spam. Like most brands just don't get much spam organically. But ads is where a lot of it can come in. And that's why it's just so important to have all those guardrails in place from the very beginning and do your research, have an idea of, which platforms and which types of campaigns are more likely to bring you spam so that you can avoid wasting money in the very beginning, right?
Exactly.
Start with the stuff that's most likely to work and then expand from there.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see that. Although I only do organic marketing and I help people with organic marketing. And we see a ton of spam on YouTube comments. So on live streams, we have to make sure we have someone moderating the comments because there'll be some nasty stuff that comes in on the YouTube comments. It's never any other channel. So, but for some reason, people are very bold and ambitious on YouTube, sort of like maybe because they can be anonymous, sort of like on Reddit, you can be pretty anonymous on there as well.
Yeah. And a lot of it's bots. Like I remember Instagram had a big problem with it like a year ago where like most of the comments on any post would just be bots promoting all sorts of sketchy stuff, scams and stuff like that. And the platforms, have a degree of control of how much they can knock stuff down like that. But, new accounts are getting spun up constantly on YouTube, Instagram, and it'll always kind of be there. But
it seems like the comments on YouTube are really targeted and political and nastily directed.
Different kind of user.
Different kind of spam.
There was a video I saw on Instagram. It was somewhere around the world, and it was like a company that just has all like phones all over the walls, and all it does is like automated to like posts, has auto comment.
Yeah. I said like a click farm or like a
and I was like, and the worst thing is like the meanest people you see in the comments. Once you click on it, you're like, no way someone said that. You click on it, like 2 followers. You're like, okay,
okay, great topic. We've got we're running out of time. We still have to get to selling safe and ethical AI adoption to businesses. So Mohamed, can you kick us off on this?
Yeah, cool. So the way it comes now is that AI is new for a lot of companies. A lot of people are fearful. A lot of employees are fearful. A lot of management think that they need to implement AI as soon as possible to stay competitive, right? So what I say is to sell ethical AI, you need to always look at it from that empathetic side of things. You need to look, okay, first of all, do I really need this tool, or am I just getting it for the sake of saying it's AI? One thing also to ethically implement AI is speak with the employees themselves, because everyone has different pain points, right? Something that might be easy for me, it could be hard for someone else. Something that's repetitive for me, you can look at tailor-made AI tools. And one thing I always recommend is, if you're a major company, each department should have an AI, budget to implement some sort of AI tools in their department, right? One thing as well is when it comes to data, a lot of people are also nervous, to put all the information into an AI tool. So you have to make sure that the frameworks are there. You have your data policies. One thing we noticed, and one thing we educate our clients as well, is instead of us connecting our our AI tools to an external language model, why don't you guys build your custom SLM, within your company? Like, you put all your company policies, you put your company overtime rules, vacation days, and then you start to build your own small language model. So that way, if I'm an employee and I just want to swap my shift tomorrow, I have my own agentic workflows there. And at the same time, if I want to find out what's my HR policy for sick days, it just keeps everything in house rather than having a lot of different external integrations with different large models. And always, I think that there should be some sort of decision override process. So there's some decisions that AI can make by its own, right? There will be some where, if it affects other people or if it affects other major decision makers, you can say there should be a human in the loop aspect. So before before it implements something, there has to be a human sign off. It's still very new. Well, it's been here for a while, but a lot of companies are now a little bit worried, and you see a lot of things going online, a lot of fears out there. Like last week or 2 weeks ago with Moltbook, that AI, like AI Reddit, I would call it, where people are like, oh my God. And then there's someone made a website that says humans working for AI. So you see there's a lot of tension, or there are a lot of tension. And then you look at the news every day, you see Amazon firing this many people. A lot of things are coming up, and I think it's just a quick race, right? No one is thinking what's going to happen in 2 years from now, when we end up getting rid of everyone quick to make a quick profit for the end of the year, results. But down the line, it's not this is going to be like a societal issue. So you should always say, if you're of course, if you're losing money, you have to look at ways, to implement AI to make more money so you can, secure your future. But if you're a lot of profits, you should start to look into the new roles that these decisions are saying, start to move people. If they're not needed in certain roles, you can start looking at new roles that are up and coming in the next couple of years. And it might even set you ahead of the competition, because you put this person to be an AI prompt manager, and you put this person, to manage an AI team. Like if you saw Moltbook, now we know that AI agents can talk to each other, right? Mm-hmm. What if you move people into roles where they're managing AI conversations, and they can see what's the best feedback that comes out? So it's just, what I'm saying is, it's not a scary time, but it's uncertain time at the moment, and the leadership should also take into consideration that there are a lot of people who are worried and should be in that decision-making process.
Yeah, absolutely. Scary time. Great time to learn how to write better prompts on AI.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
And so we've got a couple comments. So David was mentioning ethical AI adoption. We talk about that on the David Daily Show. Yes, check out the David Daily Show. They talk about quantum as well. Great show. And then we've got Sarah. Our manufacturers want on-prem safe LLMs. They want help scoping where to get started. So yeah.
So they want to build their own on-premise LLMs?
Sounds like it. Manufacturers. Let us know what's going on there, Sarah. I'm guessing it's just custom.
It's custom. You can build your own architecture in the back end, your own algorithms. And for me, my CPTO, he's really smart with the back end stuff. He's always he's always going to conferences, so he teaches me a lot on what he does in the back end. So from what I understand is they create the architecture and then they put in a lot of the for the agentic workflows. That's one way where they build them in the back end. But for the knowledge based, I think if I get the name, I think it was called RAG. I'll find out. But then they put in as much data into that system, or even much documentation, and it kind of builds its own ecosystem inside your company, right? So it's just like, how ChatGPT has all of these data sets from Reddit, from the internet, from everything. As long as you feed it with as much data as possible from your company, also make sure that it's clean data. You just don't want it to, just drag and drop everything into it or put everything. As long as you have a lot of clean data and a lot of policies, just the whole point is eventually it's going to be your work's version of ChatGPT. Yeah. I was just reading that. Sorry, I was just reading that. I couldn't read what it was said in the bottom there. One of the questions.
Yeah, she's like, they are fearful of IP risks and financial risks.
Yeah, and this is one thing I wonder, and I want to really research this because I bounce a lot of ideas that are not out there, and I put it on ChatGPT. I always wanted to know, is that out there? Because this is why, if a company has their own SLM, if they're bouncing back ideas with each other or some things that they mention into that chatbot, it stays within the company, right? So. And I heard, what was it, ChatGPT, Sam Altman mentioned that if he was looking at something crazy, like if ChatGPT helps you with an idea, they want like a percentage in the business.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That is crazy. Oh wow, interesting. How really he said that? Was that a joke?
I was reading it somewhere where he's like, they want to have some sort of share into your business. There's a lot of stuff that they say, like they're always mentioning the one-person billion-dollar company. It's just it's a lot of stuff that's just being said out there. So sometimes it's interesting.
It's interesting because, and I've even tried this on my website a little bit. Like it can build out landing pages and stuff. Like it can. It can build entire ads and stuff like that. So there is like an actual question to be asked. It's like, who owns this? If it produced all of it, it's like, is it mine? Is it theirs? Just because I'm using it, who does
it's in parts of other people's.
Yeah, right. Because it's not like ChatGPT created it. It's referencing someone else's work that it was then able to just copy and apply to you. So it's like, I feel like they have a hard case of making that like we're the founders here, pioneers.
Yeah, definitely.
Mohamed, a question for you. How do you think we can incentivize brands to go about AI ethically? Because in my space, like in the advertising space, it seems like it's a race to the bottom in a lot of ways of people trying to rush out new brands and products and use AI to make it seem like the brand is a little bit more established than it is. So they'll use AI to build their website. They'll use AI testimonial videos of customers saying how much they love the product, even though that customer doesn't exist. And I've pulled my LinkedIn audience and people don't feel great about that kind of stuff. But curious, one, how do you feel about that kind of stuff? And how do we incentivize brands to go about AI in an ethical way?
Yeah. So from what we push with like the shift-based industries, right? We tell them that if you, for example, for the employees, there's two sides, there's the employees and there's the management side of things, right? For the employees, what's going to happen when they have full flexibility using AI tools that gives them full flexibility of the schedule? It gives them full flexibility of talking to someone who can, cover who can help them with the shift coverages. First things first, they're going to come in much happier, right? They're going to be ready. They're going to be proactive. They're going to be thinking ahead. So you're going to look from a productivity side. You're allowing them, to work harder and doing less of the tedious tasks or other thing. From the manager side of things, there has to be some sort, because at the end of the day, we have to know there's going to be a lot of, they don't want to know what the cost savings are. So you have to look at what are the productivity enhancements that you got with the people, freeing up their time with AI. And it's going to take some time, because what there's going to happen is that if they go and start laying off people, they might see some problems in the future, right? They might see, oh, we didn't forecast this, or we released this. We all know about the AI hallucinations you see with ChatGPT, and that's a huge one, right? So if they're rushing to lay off people now, they could get hurt in 6 to 7 months, versus a company that doesn't lay off people but use AI to, to go for the hidden costs, so they're still profiting more. And then with these people that they kept, they can actually look at other creative ideas for newer strategies. Because a lot of the AI tools, if you notice, it's always you bouncing an idea, and it's always saying, yes, you're right, you can do it. And it's always like it's not very creative. So from what I would tell leadership, use AI to complement your employees, and watch. Don't rush. Don't say, oh, this AI tool can cover this task or this job. Free their time up and see what creative and strategic ideas they will come up. And down the line, the ones who actually use it to complement their staff are going to see them, even though they might see, oh, the other companies cut costs and they have a higher profit margin. But who knows, in 6 months' time or 1 year down the line, the ones who actually thought of a smarter long-term decision, they're going to be the ones who are going to be laughing in the end. So
Love that.
Definitely. Ugh, so much there to unpack. Sarah said a couple minutes ago, research is expensive and they need to find ways to fund it. Yeah, I mean, that could be said about so many things. But yeah, this has been a really great topic. Thank you both for getting into all of this. We've talked about ads, we've talked about AI, ethics, all of the things. And I know I'm going to remember. So I like how you said you build your own AI for your own company. What was it that you called that? Like when you're feeding your own data and you just keep all pulling your own data. One of you said something that I'm like, that is a really great way to sum that up, because it does speak to me, because you were talking about when you have an internal AI. I think it was you, Mohamed.
Yeah, is it like the work ChatGPT or something?
Yeah, exactly. The work ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you upload your Google Drive in there, everything in there. So it's just like pulling all of that stuff, plus just everything everyone at work is talking about. Anyway, I digress. We've got to get to our important segment, and we're going to debut a quick new video. Instead of me singing live tonight, I think we've got a new segment video.
The Guru of the Week. Ooh, ooh. The Guru of the Week. Ooh, ooh.
Curious what everyone thinks of that background music. I felt like it wasn't the right vibe, but we did some poppy music too. It also wasn't the right vibe. Usually it's just me going, the Guru of the Week, because we want to know why we should go follow these people. We just heard from you for the last 45 minutes about, really the last hour about, all like what makes you so amazing. And we've just learned from you. So now who do you learn from and who inspires you?
Mohamed, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So when I was asked this question, I mentioned Chris Daigle, especially because in the AI field. So last year is when I started to push my company. I started to build my personal brand. So I just didn't want to I wanted to go out and explain my knowledge, right? So I would reach out to people like, hey, I talked to them a bit, and he was the one who was really interested. And he was like, hey, let's hop. He replied back. He was like, let's go on a podcast. And I did my first podcast at that time. At the end of the year was with him, and we discussed a lot. We had a lot of healthy conversations. He has his own AI community called Chief AI Officer Community, and over there were a lot of people who are middle managers, senior managers. They come together. They just give each other tips. So you learn a lot from it. So that being said, I also some of our clients came from his podcast as well. So he was like that little extra push I needed when I started to scale into my business. So yes.
Nice. And on my end, when I first became an agency owner and went full time into this, and no longer was working at an agency, but now running my own, I started to ask other agency owners, like, what's the first thing I should do? Who should I be talking to? And they said, you got to get a business coach. Find someone who's been there, done that, and can tell you what you need to focus your time on, what kind of resources you need to be thinking about, that kind of stuff. So I talked to a few different people, but I ended up working with Chris Dubois, and he's awesome. I meet with him every 2 weeks. And he's especially great for agency owners, no matter what kind of agency you run. whether it's marketing or development, SEO, all that kind of stuff. He is super instrumental of getting you to think about things the right way and just giving you all sorts of amazing ideas of how you can improve what you're doing. And on top of that, awesome guy, Army vet, all that kind of stuff. So definitely recommend following him. He has great posts on LinkedIn.
Amazing. Well, we always love to learn new faces and new names. I'm going to go follow them. If you all who are watching, tag them in the comments. Go follow them. Check them out. I mean, this has been an amazing episode. We just got to learn from Matt and Mohamed, and they get inspired by those people. So I am definitely inspired. This has been another amazing episode of Wednesday. Thank you so much to both of you for coming on the show. And I want to give a big thanks to Sarah in the comments too. Sarah, you were practically part of the show. I loved all the engaging questions and comments, and whoever else is there, if you're still there, it's not too late. Leave a comment. Let us know you're here. We've got another really great episode planned for next week. We've got, who do we have on, Layla? We've got to pull up that picture so I can remember who it is that we're having on tomorrow. Oh, not tomorrow, but next week. 1 week from today, we've got Daria Solamina and Nils Marchand. This is going to be a great episode. So a CRO and a senior PI solutions consultant. Ooh, those are going to be some hot topics you're not going to want to miss. But before we go, we want to learn more about you real quick. Could both of you just tell us a little bit more about yourself, who it is you serve, what it is you serve them with, and if they could be served by you, how do they reach you? Matt?
Awesome. Yeah, I can kick this one off. We serve any brand who's in a growth stage. So in particular, brands who are already spending on advertising and you just want it to work better for you. So we definitely specialize with brands who are spending $15,000 or more per month. So these are brands that have a lot of data that we can come in, eat all that up, and figure out ways to improve your business. We also work with smaller brands as well. But our ideal client is someone who's already active and believes in advertising. We work with brands in the e-commerce space, B2B space, local as well. You can find me on LinkedIn with Matthew Slaymaker. I'm the one with the black shirt that says Slaymaker Marketing on it. And you can also go to slaymakermarketing.com, and that's spelled SLAY. But yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Slaymaker, because they slay your marketing. I love
That's right.
that.
We've definitely used that tagline.
How about you, Mohamed? We want to learn more about you, who it is you serve, how you serve them, and if they could be served by you, how do they reach you?
Perfect. So for me, it's more for the shift-based industries. So anyone that doesn't really work the 9 to 5, where they have a lot more complexities when it comes to the schedule. And the thing is, we offer it to small, mid, and enterprises. But a lot of the things, a lot of the small and mid-sized companies don't really know the hidden costs that they are paying, and they always think that a scheduling system is very expensive. It's going to be, tens of thousands to onboard. But what we're trying to do is, especially with the latest tech, we're trying to make it very affordable for everyone. So anyone can scale. It can be from someone who has 30 employees to someone who has 1,000 employees, and it goes per the amount of employees you have. So if you have 100 employees, you'll probably pay around, depending on which feature, as low as $500 a month for the full 100 staff, right? So it's affordable. And if they're using Excel, the goal is to get out of Excel, because the predictive insights that you get with AI today, you will save at least 5 to 15%, or even more if you're moving from Excel. So it's just something that will give you guys, the managers, more time, and also help the employees, have a little bit more flexibility rather than a rigid schedule, going back and forth. Just, let them enjoy life more, and let you have more times to, manage them, coach them. And yeah, just be doing the real manager job, not replying, oh, you're sick. Okay, I'm taking you off. I have to find someone now. Who can I call? And I also post a lot of stuff about future of work, about workforce planning on LinkedIn. So not only just for the business, if anyone is interested in some content, I always give some tips on workforce planning, forecasting, the tools out there. You can follow me at Mohamed Yousuf on LinkedIn. So MOHAMED and A and then YOUSUF.
Incredible. Thank you both for sharing that. And yeah, definitely reach out to both of them if you could use their services. You guys have demonstrated a lot of expertise today. So really appreciate you coming on and sharing that with us and with our audience here. It's been a really excellent episode, but until next time, it's been great having you both on. I hope you have a great week. And let's see, I'm going to end the video with an outro video, but Mohamed and Matt, if you could stick around so we can just make sure that the upload speed is finished. So we'll
Perfect.
see you
Awesome.
in the backstage. Everyone else, have a great week. Bye.